It was a slow, quiet Friday night at Tony's Pizza. The kind of night where every minute seemed to stretch on forever. Mike, the delivery driver, slouched in the corner, scrolling through his phone. He'd been hoping for more orders, anything to break up the boredom. Across the counter, Lisa was cleaning up the pizza station, and Carlos, the cook, was lazily folding boxes at the back. The hum of the fluorescent lights above filled the near-empty restaurant, accompanied by the soft sound of classic rock playing faintly from the kitchen radio. The place had a comforting familiarity, but tonight, something felt off. It was like the air was heavier, thicker, suffocating. Then, the phone rang. The shrill sound cut through the silence, startling all three of them. Mike glanced at the clock. It was almost midnight. He raised an eyebrow as Lisa, closest to the phone, picked it up. "Tony's Pizza, how can I help you?" she asked, her voice casual, but there was no response on the other end. Only a faint static crackle. "Hello?" Lisa repeated, frowning. For a second, she thought she heard something. A soft, distant giggle, like a child playing just out of earshot. It was brief, almost unnoticeable, but it sent a chill down her spine. She hung up the phone, shaking her head. "Weird, probably a prank." "Oh, probably some kid screwing around," Mike muttered, not looking up from his phone. But Carlos, standing by the oven, didn't laugh. He just glanced out the window at the empty car lot, his face tense. The phone rang again. Lisa shot at a wary look but didn't pick it up this time. It rang 5, 6 times before finally stopping. The room felt colder now, like the temperature had dropped a few degrees. "All right, I've got an order to deliver," Mike announced, grabbing his jacket and the pizza bag. "I'll be back in like 20 minutes. Lisa gave him a small nod, and Carlos barely acknowledged him. Mike left, and the door closed with a soft chime. The moment he was gone, the unease settled in thicker. Lisa kept cleaning, trying to shake off the strange feeling crawling under her skin. As she reached for a tray, she noticed something. There was a smear of tomato sauce on the counter, but she hadn't made any pizzas in the last hour. "Carlos, did you spill something back here?" she called out. Carlos didn't answer right away. When she turned around to look at him, he was staring at the walk-in freezer, his face pale. "Carlos?" The phone rang again. Lisa ignored it, now fully creeped out. "Carlos, what's up?" He didn't move, his eyes still locked on the freezer door. Slowly, he walked toward it, like something was pulling him. Lisa watched, her heart beginning to pound. The door creaked open, a cold fog spilling out. Carlos peered inside. "There's something in here," he whispered. Lisa's stomach dropped. "Carlos, don't." But he stepped inside before she could stop him. The heavy freezer door swung shut behind him with a thud, sealing him in. Lisa rushed over and yanked the door open, but Carlos was gone. The freezer was completely empty, save for a few boxes of frozen dough. Her breath came in short gasps as she scanned the room. It was impossible. There was nowhere for him to go. Then, the phone rang again. Lisa jumped, her hands shaking. She stared at the phone, terrified now. It rang and rang, louder and louder in the silent restaurant. She grabbed a knife from the counter, backing toward the front of the store. "Carlos? This isn't funny." No response. The phone stopped ringing. Suddenly, a loud bang came from outside, like something had hit the dumpster behind the restaurant. Lisa's blood ran cold. Hard pounding, she forced herself to walk to the back door. She flicked on the outside light and slowly pulled the door open, knife gripped tight in her hand. The alley was empty. The dumpster lid sat open, trash scattered around it, but there was no one there. "Carlos?" she whispered, stepping into the cold night air. The alley was eerily quiet, the only sound coming from the distant hum of traffic. She took another step forward, her eyes scanning the shadows. And then she was gone. The door to the restaurant swung shut behind her with a soft click. 20 minutes later, Mike returned, a half-empty pizza bag in hand, humming a tune. He pushed open the door to the restaurant and froze. The once clean counter was now covered in sauce, boxes scattered across the floor, and the faint metallic scent of blood hung in the air. "Lisa?" he called out, stepping further inside. "Carlos!" He glanced down and saw the body. Lisa was lying in a pool of blood by the freezer door, her eyes wide open, staring blankly at the ceiling. His breath caught in his throat as he dropped the pizza bag. "Lisa, what the?" Before he could process what had happened, a noise came from behind him. He turned to see Carlos standing in the doorway, his face pale, his eyes hollow. "You," Carlos whispered, pointing a trembling finger at Mike. "What did you do?" Mike's heart raced. "I just got back." "What are you talking about?" But Carlos wasn't listening. His breathing was erratic, and he pulled his phone from his pocket, dialing the police. "You killed her. You killed Lisa." "I didn't, I swear," Mike shouted, stepping back, but Carlos was already on the phone. "They'll be here soon," Carlos whispered, his voice distant, his eyes dark. And then Mike saw it. Carlos wasn't alone. A shadowy figure stood just behind him, its face twisted into a grotesque grin, the same eerie giggle from the phone echoing through the room. The last thing Mike heard before everything went dark was the faint haunting sound of the phone ringing one more time. When the police arrived, the scene was chaos. Blood everywhere, one body lying dead in the restaurant, and Carlos rambling incoherently about shadows and phone calls. They never found Mike. The last thing caught on the security camera was Mike walking back into the restaurant, and then nothing. Some say the restaurant is cursed, that the ghost of Tony's Pizza haunts the night shift, waiting for the next unlucky soul to answer the phone.